From generational bottle jobs to performances that will go down in history, the 2024 Formula One season has been one of a kind. The on- and off-track drama has been non-stop, but what have been the craziest moments that make this season one to remember? We've got to start with the chaos that erupted from Red Bull this season. It all really kicked off when the allegations surrounding Christian Horner and his misconduct with a female co-worker surfaced in February, effectively shattering the team in two. You had the likes of Jos Verstappen claiming the team was going to explode if Horner remained in charge, and Max Verstappen was even hinting at leaving the team. This tension led to some of Red Bull's most senior figures, like Adrian Newey, leaving the team, which left them in an undoubtedly weakened state. As if things couldn't get any worse, the performance of their car this year nosedived after the first 6 races, and this all really boiled over at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where Max made his thoughts on the car clear.
A -5 brake light and the thing just doesn't turn. No, it's absolutely there.
Another crucial part of the equation of Red Bull's dramatic downfall was the absolutely heinous performance of Sergio Perez across this year. The guy scored just 49 points in the last 18 races, with 6 Q1 exits across the season. Some of his highlights include crashing in Monaco, crashing in Imola, crashing in Hungary, crashing in Baku. I think you get the picture. He not only completely and utterly destroyed his reputation, but he cost Red Bull the Constructors' Championship. He's genuinely become a walking meme at this point. I couldn't have made this video without talking about Lando Norris and his impressive ability to fumble any chance of claiming the Drivers' World Championship this year. It's generally been accepted that, on average, McLaren have had the fastest car since his maiden win in Miami, so Lando should really have been fighting for the championship. But instead, he treated us to a level of bottling never seen before. Including the sprint races, he's been on pole 9 times this season. But guess how many times he's been leading the race by the end of the first lap? It's literally only been twice. Every other time he's just thrown pole position away. Whether it was bad starts, poor defending, or getting schooled by his teammates, Lando found a new way to bottle the first lap every race. It's not like he's error-free mid-race either, as he made some shameless blunders which cost him more wins than I can count. The other real issue with Lando this year has been how many fans he's lost due to his attitude towards other drivers. We had his comments towards Lewis Hamilton at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
You had a fast car 7 years ago. 7 years ago? You had it. You had a quick car. You made the most of it, now it's us.
And his statement about Max's epic win in Brazil being down to luck.
It's not talent or, it's just luck.
But to be fair to Lando, he has, at least in parts, redeemed himself with his stellar performance in Abu Dhabi. With Piastri effectively out of the race thanks to the first corner assassination by Verstappen, McLaren's hopes of winning the Constructors' Championship were resting solely on Lando. A single mistake would have been catastrophic, but he kept his cool, holding off the charging Ferraris to bring home the win and secure McLaren their first World Championship in 26 years. Speaking of championships, we obviously have to talk about the 2024 World Champion, Max Verstappen. It's been a turbulent season for Max to say the least, with the start of the year looking like a repeat of 2023's dominance, which then spiraled into a championship which Max would actually have to fight for. His on-track battles with Norris across the year have been the center of much controversy, with a few questionable moves to say the least. But despite having the second or third fastest car in some races, Verstappen still gave us a world-class performance, which is best exemplified in the race which pretty much sealed the championship and silenced his haters, and that was Brazil. Max was starting in 17th place, while his championship rival was on pole. It seriously looked like Norris could put a massive dent in his championship lead. But Max wouldn't roll over that easily, instead giving us an absolute masterclass in the rain, climbing all the way to P1, humbling Norris in the process. Whilst Perez somehow managed to cling onto his seat for the entirety of the season, a few other drivers weren't so lucky. First up is Logan Sargeant, and honestly, you really can't blame Williams for dropping him. He had a series of incidents and uninspiring performances across the start of the year, but what really sealed his fate was his crash at the Dutch Grand Prix. This left Williams with the seats open for Franco Colapinto to make his F1 debut. It's fair to say that there was a lot of skepticism surrounding Colapinto at first, but the young Argentine quickly proved himself. Unfortunately, the second driver dropped this season was the beloved Daniel Ricciardo. He didn't really have any standout crashes like Sargent, but was simply not performing at the level expected by Red Bull, so he was replaced by Liam Lawson. Whilst it was incredibly sad to see him go, what hurt the most was the unceremonious send-off given to him by Red Bull. I mean, they could have at least confirmed the Singapore Grand Prix would be his final race, so we could give the Aussie a proper farewell. And speaking of farewells, it's also worth mentioning the absolutely shambolic nature in which Alpine said goodbye to Esteban Ocon. Just bear in mind that Ocon has raced for Alpine for 5 years. So, how do they give him a send-off? You guessed it, by replacing him with Jack Doohan for the final race of the season and cancelling his planned factory tour to say farewell to his team. I mean, he might be joining their rival team Haas, but that was straight up cutthroat. And it might not have been a permanent change, but shout out to Ollie Behrman, who made his F1 debut this year, racing for both Ferrari and Haas when Sainz and Magnussen were unfit to race due to sickness, scoring points for both teams. Whilst the championship might have gone to Verstappen, I don't think anybody expected the season to be as fiercely competitive as it was. In fact, we had 7 different race winners across the season, with Norris and Piastri both securing their first ever wins in F1. Besides Max's performance in Brazil, one of the most iconic wins this year has to be Charles Leclerc finally claiming victory at his home race of Monaco. It seemed he'd been plagued with bad luck for years, but finally, the stars aligned in 2024 for the Monegasque driver to finally fulfill his childhood dream of winning in Monaco. Lewis Hamilton's stunning win at Silverstone will also go down as one of the greatest wins this year. It was his final home race with Mercedes before he makes his shock move to Ferrari next year, and it certainly didn't disappoint. After a win drought of 56 races, Hamilton finally secured victory. Literally, just thinking about this race gives me chills. Now, this season has never been short of drama, so let's just fly through a few more of the wildest incidents. We had the Alpine situation in Monaco, where Esteban Ocon made the mind-boggling decision to try and pass his teammates through a gap that didn't exist and was almost dropped by his team as a result. Verstappen went to war with the FIA over their rules of swearing, refusing to answer questions in press conferences in defiance, and then just a few races later, he sparked a war of words with George Russell. Russell alleged that Verstappen impeded him on his outlap at qualifying in Qatar, which resulted in Verstappen losing pole thanks to a one-place grid penalty for the incident. Verstappen called Russell two-faced and claimed he had lost all respect for him, while Russell called Verstappen an angry bully and hit back with a speech that sounded like it was from a courtroom. But topping off 2024 has to be the legendary Lance Stroll and his unforgettable incident in Brazil before the race even started.